Guys, so right, so we have got this class account. So initially it was without any access specifier. So when you define any class or any member of the class, so these are called as member variables, whereas these are called as member methods. So when you define the class variable or methods without any access specifiers, they get defined with the default access specifier. Now what is default access specifier? Default access specifier means you like whatever the elements you have defined with the default access specifiers, they can only be accessed from within the same package. Like what do I mean by that? Initially we were having this account class defined as this. Okay, so if there is any other class from the same package, a single package can have multiple classes as well. Okay, a single package may contain multiple classes. So if there is yet another class which exists in the same package, then that class can access this account class. Okay, right. But if there is any class which resides in some different package, the way we have it in this case, right, we have that case here over here. Account system demo, if you see, this class resides in altogether different package. You can see the package of this class and package of another our account class, they are different. So they are residing in two different packages. So if any class residing in a different package wants to access this particular class, then it won't be able to, because this class is not exposed outside the package. So public exposes the class. Like when you define a class with public access specifier, means the class is now exposed outside of the package, and any other class residing in some different package can create the object of that class and use it. Okay, that is what it is and what is meant by that. Now let's see the errors. Like we did this and we got rid of the errors which we were encountering at this place. We had the errors like the class account is not public, hence it cannot be accessed outside of the package, and blah 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 we had got. Then we fixed that error, we made this class public, and then we got rid of the errors. But now still we have few errors over here. Now let's see those. I am opening a CMD command prompt, and then we are going to compile our account system demo. Okay, so let's go to CMD. Okay, now let's compile our Java C space. Now we have to give class path as we had discussed yesterday. -cp class path space, and we have to provide the class path. Now remember guys, yesterday we had talked about the packages. So there we talked about you have to provide the path of the directory containing your package directories in the class path, right? So class path and space the path of the directory, path of the file. So I'll just send this, I'll just mention this path account system demo.java. Correct. Now these are the errors which we have got now. These are the errors we are going to solve, these ones, right? Now let's see them one by one. Now previously we were having the error for this line. I'll tell you which line we were having the error of that public. This line we were having. So it was saying that this account class, the object of which we are trying to create here, it's not accessible outside of the package. Hence we made it public. So as soon as we made it public, this class has got an access to that class. So that's why there is no error at this point. The error is at this point now. You can see here in the command prompt. See here, account number. See, read this error. Account number is not public in account, cannot be accessed from outside the package. Meaning the class is public. The class is public. You can access the class for creating the object of it. But making the class public doesn't make its members public unless and until they are defined explicitly as public. The problem is our class is public, hence we are able to create the object. There is no doubt about that. But we are still do not have any access to these members, these variables, as well as these methods. Why? Because the class has defined its members with the default access specifiers. Now, what is default access specifier? We had just talked about it. Default access specifier means these members are with the default access specifiers. Means any other class creating the object of this class can access these members only if these two classes, means this one and the other one who has created that object of this class and trying to access these members, should be part of the same package. Okay, only within the same package the members can be accessed with the help of object. Right now the scenario is our account system demo is trying to access this account number balance. You can see with the help of the object it is able to access, it is trying to access it, but it is saying this account number balance, even this deposit amount method it is trying to call, this get balance also it is trying to call. All these members what it is trying to access, they are not yet exposed outside of the package. So what we need to understand is, even if you make the class public, doesn't make its members public. You have to define them explicitly public if you want them to be accessed. Okay, if you want to access them from outside of the package. So this is very important concept which we should understand here, right? Now what we need to do is, in order to get rid of those errors, we need to make this public, the account number public, because we want to access the account number over there. Balance public, because we are also accessing the balance here, right? So account number we are accessing here, balance we are accessing here. Then deposit amount we are calling deposit amount, get balance. So all these methods and members rather, so all these things, like the two variables and three methods, they are called members. So all these need to be defined with public access specifier. Right, so we have to make them public. So I have made them public. Again I have to compile this class, guys. Remember, when you do any changes into the class, even the slightest change, maybe you have given some semicolon or remove something, even the slightest change which you have done in your file will require the recompilation, right? So I'll just say CLS, and I'll just mention here and we don't need, for compiling the account class, we don't need the class path, right? Because there is no user defined symbol used here, right? But even if you mention that, that is fine, but it doesn't need. Okay, so what I'll do is, now I'll just compile this account class. Account.java. Now the account class got compiled. Now this particular bytecode has got the class public, then all the members as well from that class are public now. Now let's compile our system demo, this one, the user class, the one which is creating that object of the account class and accessing the members. Let's compile it. Now you can see the class got successfully compiled. Our account system demo this particular class got successfully compiled now, because now there is no issue. The class is public. All the members like account number, balance, they are public now. Hence now this class, while being in the different package, can access these members there, right? Now let's run it. I'll say Java space. Now again we need to give the class path, as you know, right? So I'll just remove this. We need to give the class path for running as well. Instead of Java C, we will say Java now. The class path would be pointing to the same location Java programs. And how to run the class now? Now we want to run this class. Always remember, in the Java application, okay, in the Java application, the main class, the class which contains the main method is where your program execution should start. I'll say account system demo, the name of the package, dot name of the class. That is how we have to always access, as we have already seen this. Here our package name and class name happens to be same, but it need not be always, it can be different. But remember, if you are accessing a class from a different package, right, for execution, you have to access it like that. Java space, you have to mention the directory path, the class path, where the Java runtime environment will find the required class file, package name dot class name, and enter. Now you can see we have got this message, account number 1 has balance rupees so and so. Now let's understand here. Now our execution started here, so we got our object created. Okay, object of the account class got created. Account number, balance, two variables got created. Okay, these two got created in the memory. Their references got stored in this act1 object variable. Then I'm saying act1 dot account number. Now when the the object is getting created, so while in the creation process, these two variables get created with the default values, as we have seen, right? We have already discussed this. These two variables got created with the default values. So this is an integer variable, so the default value for this is 0. This is a double, hence the default is 0.0. So act1 object got created with these two variables having default values into them. Then we said act1, always we have to refer the act1 here, because the act1 has got the addresses of these two variables stored. act1 dot account number, I want to override the default 0 value with 1. So the account number which has got the 0, which it has got while the object is being created, now it has got overwritten with value 1, and balance got overwritten with 1000. So now our act1's account number copy has got 1 value, act1 dot balance has got 1000 value. Then what we are doing? We are calling a deposit amount. So we are sending a reference of the object again. Why? That's what the encapsulation is. We are sending in the object reference inside this deposit amount, so that this will access the balance. act1 dot balance will be accessed, which has got value 1000 now. We are sending 500 as an argument to this, which is getting accepted here in this parameter. So 1000 we already have, 1000 plus 500, 1500 is what we are updating act1's balance now. We are updating to 1500, right? Then we are calling get balance here by again sending the act1 reference, act1 dot get balance, I'm saying. So act1 dot get balance. So again act1's reference is getting sent, and this balance is now act1 dot balance. So it is returning the value back to the caller. Okay, so act1 dot balance has now become 1500. So we got 1500 return from this method. We stored it in this variable val, and then we have got this message printed. Now what is this message? I want to print a message that account number, this is string, which I want to be printed as is. Okay, so the message should get concatenated. This is called concatenation, guys. account number plus ACTNO, ACT1 dot ACTNO. So ACT1, the object ACT1's account number variable has got value 1, right? So which I want to be printed along with this message. Okay, so that's what we are getting here on the console. You can see account number colon. This is the string which got printed as is, right? This one. Then this one is coming from ACT1 dot account number. That is what we have just concatenated here. See this account number colon space. So this got printed as is. To this message we got our value 1 concatenated, and the plus is called as concatenation operator. Okay, so this is the segment, a variable segment which got concatenated with the string message here. Now again we are concatenating again the string message. This one has balance rupees dot space. So that is what we got in our message. You can check. Has got, after the one I have got one space, has got balance rupees dot space. So this is that message which got concatenated to the part here. And then we have got the balance printed, ACT1 dot balance. We can, like, we don't need to call the ACT1 dot balance because we have already got the balance and stored in this bal variable. So we can concatenate bal variable as well here. We don't need that ACT1 dot balance because that we have already got written in this. So that is also fine. So we are concatenating balance, and again I am concatenating the rest string part. So I'm printing some meaningful message here, right? Account number 1 has balance so and so. So my user who is executing this program is able to understand what is going on. Now let's create yet another variable. Let's say yet another customer came into the bank and he also requested bank to open his account, right? So bank is now going to create a entry for his account. So we will just copy and paste the whole thing. Just we need to do the modifications here. The object would be different here. In the memory, in the bank records, the existence for that person's account is going to be different than the previous one. So this is customer 1's account ACT1 and customers 2 account ACT2. And then ACT2 dot account number has got value 2. His initial balance, let's say he wants to keep the initial balance of 500 rupees. 500 rupees he wants to keep, right? Then he wants to deposit 500 more ACT2. Now whenever you want the the variables for that object to be worked on inside the method, you should be sending that object's reference. Now ACT2's reference should go in so that his copy, because account number balance, once this object would be created, there is going to be two different copies created, account number and balance. Two different copies are going to get created for the ACT2. The ACT1 has got its own copies, account number, balance. ACT2 is going to have its own, right? So all the time inside the methods which are working, on the data, those methods should receive the object's reference, so that method will work on the copy of the object reference of which has been sent, right? Here ACT2, the bal variable is already there. Okay, so I'm just assigning it, I'm not defining it again. Bal equal to ACT2 dot get balance. So I'm just retrieving the balance, and here I'm just checking that ACT2 instead of ACT1 has balance so and so. Now let's compile this. There is no change into the account class now, so we don't need to compile account class, but we need to compile demo class because we have done the changes here, right? So I'll say CLS and let's compile our demo. So compilation is successful. The class file got overwritten. And now let's run. See here. Now we have got the two informations. The first information is about account number 1, which is having a balance of 1500. The other information is about account 2, the customer 2, who has got the balance 1000 rupees here, right? Because he initially deposited 500 rupees, right? Initially deposited 500, like initially the balance 500, then he deposited 500 more, so balance became 1000, right? Now let's add the withdrawal operation now for these two accounts, guys. Let's I'll add the withdrawal operation. So I'll say ACT2. Now the customer 2 has exercised one withdrawal and his balance now should get reflected with that withdrawal, right? So here I'll say ACT2 dot withdraw amount. I'm just copying the method names to avoid the mistakes, nothing else. And I want to withdraw, say, 2000 rupees. I want to withdraw 2000 rupees. Okay. Now after withdrawal, I want to check my balance. So my customer has exercised the withdrawal. Now he wants to check the balance. So the same two statements we will use. So ACT2 dot get balance, again I'm calling the balance, the current balance would be stored in this val variable, and then here I'll say after withdrawal, just to make it clear that this balance, the message which we have got on the console, that is after withdrawal, right? So nothing else. And yeah, now let's save it, compile it and execute it, and let's see the output. So I'm just compiling, and now let's see the problem here, guys. Now let's see the problem. This is absolutely fine. Account 1, ACT1, absolutely fine. ACT2 is absolutely fine until this point. But then customer tried withdrawing 2000 rupees. But whereas his balance is 1000 only. You can check the 1000 is the balance which he has available in his account. And he tried withdrawing 2000 rupees here, 2000. So what happened is ACT2 dot withdraw amount got called with the ACT2's reference. So this is ACT2 dot balance, which is 1000 minus 2000. So 1000 minus 2000 minus 1000 got here into this ACT2 dot balance. But what should happen? The customers, the balance got into the negative. But what we usually get when we go to the ATM and we try withdrawing the more amount than what we have in our accounts, we get the message, right? We don't get the money, we get the message. So, let's say amount is invalid or something. Okay, so here there is a bug in our method. Our method is not checking, the withdrawal method is not checking whatever the amount you are requesting to be withdrawn. So do you have the sufficient balance or not? That we are not checking. We should check it, right, guys? So let's do that. Now here we should have a check that before we proceed ahead with this statement, we need to check that if balance is greater than amount we are requesting. If it is greater, then only do this. Getting it, guys? If it is not, then we should print the message on the console that out.println. So we should say you do not have sufficient balance.
Yeah, Pranodai.
Yes.
The balance will equal to also, no?
Yeah. So greater than equal to. Let's make it greater than equal to. Yes. So I'll just say here, so I'll just say balance should be greater than or equal to the amount we are requesting. So we will print here balance is rupees. So we will just make the customer understand how much he actually has by printing it in the else statement. So we'll say balance is, your balance is actually this, right? Now let's compile the account class because we have done the changes in this. Now let me do CLS, and I am now compiling account class first. Let me compile the account. Okay, Java C, and let me compile account class. So let me go here, account system, Control C, account.java. So I have compiled account class. Now let's compile account system demo, and now let's run it. Right, you do not have sufficient balance. See, we got this, right? So our account one's journey is absolutely fine. Now let's talk about account two. Account two got opened here. Then it has got the account number, the initial balance 500, then the deposit of 500. So balance became 1000. Until this point, everything is fine. Then the customer tried withdrawing 2000 rupees. Okay, tried withdrawing 2000 rupees here. Now the here, like over here, the 2000. So balance is 1000. So balance, is it greater than or equal to the amount the customer is requesting for? No. Hence it came into the else and it gave us this message. So you do not have sufficient balance. Balance is rupees 1000. Then we, bal equal to act2.get balance. So he tried to retrieve the current balance after the withdrawal, and he has got this message here that after withdrawal account balance 1000. Guys, if there is a problem, now let's understand the problem. We want this, basically what this is talking about, these two statements are talking about the balance after the withdrawal is successful. Obviously, like if your withdrawal is not like this particular, if the withdrawal is gets failed, if the withdrawal gets failed, you are getting to know about your balance over here itself. What is your current balance because of which the withdrawal was not successful? Now what is happening is, like here what we are saying, after withdrawal account number so and so has balance so and so. So here these two statements should only be should only get executed only and only if the withdrawal was successful. Okay, if the withdrawal is successful, then only, because this the message is quite misleading to the user. Like this message says that after withdrawal account number so and so has got so and so balance, but here in the previous message we are saying you do not have sufficient balance, withdrawal failed. But then how can we then print the this particular message then if the withdrawal itself was not successful? Because this message is talking about the balance after the withdrawal. So what I want to say here is these two messages, or rather these two statements, should get executed only and only if the withdrawal got processed successfully. If it is not successful, if the withdrawal is failed because of the insufficient balance, then we do not want to execute these two. That is what now we are going to do. But now the problem is, this if statement, like this if statement is being handled over here, like the balance, if it is greater than amount, then balance equal to balance minus amount, and else so and so. But particular over here, failed, that information actually we need to pass on to this function so that this function can decide whether to go ahead with the execution of these two statements or not, right? So that information we are not passing. The success or failure of this operation, we are not passing it to the caller. That caller needs to know, okay, what has happened actually inside, so that it can decide the next flow of its execution. Now that is where the exception handling comes into picture, guys. Okay. Now exception handling means what? Now let's understand what is exception first, and then we will see how can we now I do know, like people know about user defined exception, blah 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 blah. But then when to use it? That this is the scenario where we can use that capability of the Java language. So what is exception? Let's talk about first, and then we will talk about user defined exception, and then we will see how can we then implement that particular feature here, so that we can implement this the way we want to. Now what is exception? Now we have already seen different errors, the compile time errors. The compile time errors are like, the compiler checks each and every statement for the against the different the syntactical rules of the language, as well as the semantics for that particular statement, and we have already talked about it. Now if the statement is not following any semantical or syntactical rules, then we get there at the compilation. We had seen few, like the class is not exposed outside of the package and this and that. We have talked about it, right? Those are the compile time errors. But it could happen that your program statements are absolutely fine according to the syntax. There is no doubt. But when you are executing the program, the scenario has become in such a way that now the errors are now getting encountered while executing the program. I'll give you one example. If you have written a program to open a file, okay, so you will open a file a.txt d:\a.txt. You have open it in a read mode, and then you are reading that file line by line, and then let's say you are printing the content of that file, right? Now let's say that file does not exist over there itself. The path which you have provided to the Java function, which will open the corresponding file. But if that file does not exist there, then the Java function which is there to which gives us that file opened, if that function doesn't get the required file on the machine, then it says I didn't get the file not found exception. That is called file not found exception. Okay, so for each and every scenario, like the things could go wrong for the scenarios, right? So if anything goes wrong, then Java throws that error to you, which is called as exception. So exception is nothing but, in simple words, error which encounters at execution time or run time. Okay, that is called exception. Now there could be many exceptions, like as I explained you, file not found exception. Like let's say you in an array you have 10 elements, but if you try to access the 11th one, which does not exist at all in that array index out of bounds exception means what? You're trying to do something which is wrong. So Java got to know about it. Okay, Java got to know about it when your program is getting executed and your array has now left with only, let's say, 10 elements, and your program is now trying to access the 11th one, which is wrong, obviously, right? So Java gets to know about it, and Java throws the exception and it terminates the program. Whenever, please understand, in at the time of execution, if any error occurs, it could be any file not found, null pointer exception, or array index out of bound exception, any exception. Any error whenever encounters while running the program, the Java follows only one strategy, and that strategy is to abort everything. It aborts. It aborts everything. Okay, I'll tell you the example, one of the example. I'll just comment this. I'll just comment this line, and let's see the execution of the program now. CLS, I have to compile that account system demo because I have done the change. Just do one modification here, guys. I'll just do only this. Okay, only the variable is defined, no object is stored. Okay, there is null here, no object got created. Object creation happens with the help of this new keyword, right? So this new keyword is responsible for allocating the memories and storing those memory references into the object. Here the variable ACT2 will be created, but account number and balance variables will not be created. So this ACT2 will not have anything. Okay, it will not have anything. It will have only null, nothing there, right? So that is where we are going to get an exception now. So let me check. ACT2 dot account number. Okay, I'll just assign this ACT2 to null. Okay, so I'm just assigning it to null. There is nothing here because I want to show you the exception, what happens when we get the exception. So the compilation wise everything is fine. Now let's run. Now whenever I'll run the program, what will happen is until this point everything will work fine. Okay, when it will come here, there is no object got created with the help of new, because we have commented this and we have set it to null. This ACT2 we have set it to null. It is not pointing to any account number or any balance, right? Null. And then we are, once it will come here that ACT2 dot account number, but then it will say ACT2 doesn't have any address of any object, so null pointer exception is what we are going to get here. Let's see. See here, until this point everything worked well. Like you can see this message, account number 1 has balance. So this message has come from this. Now when it moved ahead, came here, and it got to know that okay, something is not right. Null pointer exception, we are trying to access a variable of such an object which does not exist because the object creation has not been processed at all, and we got an exception, a runtime error. So as soon as the runtime error occurs, what Java does, see, it didn't execute all these things which are after this. We don't see this message, we don't see this message as well. So as exception, what happens is exception on the console, the details about that exception, it tells you at what line you have got that exception. You can see the line number is 18 here. So this line number, if you count from start, okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 and 18. So line number 18 we have got the problem. Okay, so whenever any runtime error occurs, Java knows only one way to handle that is terminate everything and show the error to the user or to the whoever is executing the program. Okay, that is what happens when the exception occurs. So exception, if there is any problem, then there is going to be a termination of the program. Okay, now these exceptions, they are called as system defined exceptions. Why? Because Java knows like at what scenario these exceptions need to be fired, right? So if you try to access let's say the variable of an object which does not exist, as we did just now, null pointer exception. If you try to access an element in the array which does not exist, array index out of bounds exception. If you try to open a file which does not exist on your machine, file not found exception. So there are some exceptions already made available to us, which Java system knows when to fire. If that corresponding scenario occurs, then the Java system throws that exception and terminates our program, right? But there are other few scenarios which we may need, where we want Java to treat that scenario as an exception, a runtime error situation. Okay, but that is not something which is wrong from the Java's point of view, because Java only understands the few scenarios, not the logical ones. But if you are trying to do something which Java wants to stop you from doing, then Java stops you by throwing the exception. But there could be other scenarios where you want to stop Java, like rather you want to tell Java that okay, this scenario also please consider as an exception scenario. Okay, so if you want that capability where, you know, like we have a scenario here, like if the user tries to withdraw an amount, you know, like, you know, the balance is not sufficient for processing that withdrawal, then this particular situation we want Java to treat as an exception situation, right? But Java will not treat it, because this is a logical thing. Balance, okay, balance is greater than amount, then what will happen? Java will do 1000 minus 2000 and negative balance, it will, you know, a negative value it will store. This is what it was doing previously. So there is no error from the Java's point of view. Okay, Java only will throw the exception for the things which Java treats as. Java do not want your program to continue the execution. Hence, Java stops your program by throwing the exception and terminating everything. But here, even if you try to, you know, from the lower amount, or rather, you know, from the lesser number, if you try to subtract the bigger number, so there is no problem in with respect to Java. So Java will say okay, 1000 minus 2000 minus 1000, because the subtraction is allowed, right? Subtraction is allowed, only the result would be negatives, but there is no problem, right? So Java will not treat it as a problem here. We want to tell Java, please treat this as an exception and stop everything there. Stop the execution of this function if somebody tries to withdraw an amount which is not sufficient, or rather which is you know, bigger than what he has available in his account. Now that is where the user defined exceptions comes into picture. I mean, Java has few list of exceptions like null pointer, array index, out of bounds, file not found, and stuff like that. And Java knows when to throw that exceptions and stop everything. Now we have a certain situation which Java doesn't consider as error situation, but we want Java to consider this situation as an error situation. Then we have to create that exception class, exception. Okay, that's the way Java has created null pointer, file not found in his library, and whenever the corresponding situation occurs, Java throws it. That's it. So we want to do that thing now. So we have to take care of defining our exception. We have to take care of when to throw it, because Java will not throw it. Java only throws the system defined exception whenever the certain situation occurs. But if in our logic, if the situation occurs which we want to be treated as error, then we have to throw that exception. We have to throw that exception, right? So that is now what we are going to do. We are going to define our own exception class. Okay, we can name it anything, but let's, like Java also can you know, could have named the exception anything, but they have named them in such a way that the user will understand okay, what has gone wrong. File not found exception. So this, the name of the exception itself says like there is, the Java couldn't find the file not found exception. Array index out of bounds exception. So we have, you have crossed the bounds of the array while accessing the elements. So the you know, the names are itself self-explanatory there. So we are also going to keep the name to our exception class such that the whenever, if the user gets that exception, he should know okay, balance not sufficient exception means there is some problem that we tried to withdraw an amount where our balance is not sufficient to process with that withdrawal. Okay, so now that is what we are going to do. This is where the user defined exceptions will help us guys to handle this particular situation. Now we will be coming to that point, like how are we going to make it work in such a way that whatever will happen, how it will indicate that whether it is the error exception got thrown or the withdrawal got successful, how it will indicate that success or failure which will happen here to this caller. We will talk about it later, but we need a user defined exception to handle this situation. Now what I'll do is I'll create yet another notepad file. So that's what I've been telling you. I'm not giving you any definitions here. User defined exceptions are the exceptions which the user creates, blah, blah, blah. That everybody knows. But when to use it, let's understand. So package. So I'll say package, and let's create our exception classes. For our system in different packages. Happens. Just not the folders, like the way we have movies. In the movies folder we keep all the movies. Songs, we keep all the songs in the songs folder, right? So like that, packages can also be looked at the collection of similar kind of classes. So we will create here account exceptions, account system related exceptions, user defined exceptions. Okay, will stay here in this package. Now I'll create one class, public class, and let's give a name to our exception. So I'll say balance not sufficient exception. Balance not sufficient. Okay, now this exception word is not compulsory, guys. You can name it as balance not sufficient, but just to indicate that this is an exception class, we are giving it like we are including this word as well in the name of the class, right? Now we want this class to be of type exception. It's not a normal class. It's not a class, our account class, or it's not like that. It's an exception class. So it has got its own, how can we provide those capabilities to any class so that it can be used as an exception class and not the usual class? So what we can do is, in the Java system, there is one class called exception. So that class has got all the qualities which any exception class need to have, right? So those qualities we need in this particular class in order to treat this as a exception class and not our usual class, or not as a normal class, right? So how can we do that? So that is where we are going to use inheritance. We are going to talk about inheritance, no doubt about that. Just we need to know this, a bit of this, just to create our own user defined exception, nothing else. So that only I will be discussing it right now, but we have our separate discussion on the inheritance. Don't worry about that. So I'll say extends exception. So when I say extend, so I'm nothing but creating an exception, right? So what I have done is I have created one class, balance not sufficient exception, which extends. Like extends means this class I am creating this as a child of this exception. So whatever capabilities this class has, so our exception class will inherit all those, and it will become exception class and not a normal class. That's the only reason we need all the exception capabilities into our class. Hence we are just extending it from the exception. The inheritance, this is, we will talk about it afterwards. Let's not talk about it right now. We just need it to create our user defined exception. Okay, so I'll just create a folder with the package name so that I can store my class, exception class there. So I'll just say new folder, and inside this I'll just save and we have to give a name, balance not sufficient exception. Java and all. Right. So we have stored it. Now the question is how to use it. Okay, now we have created the class and all the things. Okay, that's fine. But how to make use of it over here? Over here, how to make a use of it? So what we will do is, like, if the balance is less than amount, okay, we will throw the exception. We will say, oh, something is wrong. We will throw the exception. And if everything is fine, like balance is sufficient to process the withdrawal, then the balance equal to balance minus amount will be executed. Now we will be just changing this implementation a bit. I'll just comment this. I'll not delete it. I'll just comment it slash star star slash, so that in comparison you can understand how the new implementation will work as compared to the previous one. Okay, so what we will do is, if the balance is not sufficient, so I'll say balance is less than, instead of greater I'll just check it for less now. If the balance is less than, if the balance is indeed less than amount, I want to throw the exception. Okay, and as we had discussed, whenever the exception occurs, the Java terminates the execution. That is what we want, right? That is what we want. So I'll just write here the the logic of this withdraw amount, but here the execution should only to do something. Like if this got evaluated to true, that balance is less than amount, we want to throw an error here. Error, so that Java will not come forward, like this will not get executed. So the execution, we want the execution to be terminated at this place only, and it should not move ahead in subtracting our amount from the balance. That is what we want. We deliberately want the program execution to be terminated abruptly here. That is what our requirement is as far as this implementation is concerned, right? We want the termination to happen, and that is only possible. The abrupt termination is only possible if you are throwing any runtime error. If the Java gets that runtime error, then it terminates the flow, and then it moves, right? So here we want to cause an error or throw an error. So how to throw, this is very important. So I'll say throw. So throw is a word, keyword in Java. What does it do? So it simulates the occurrence of an error. So throw, what error we want to simulate? Our exception which we just created, this one. This error we want to simulate there. So how can we simulate it? So what we'll do it? This is a class, right? So we will create an object of it, and we will simulate the occurrence of that by using it in the throw. So I'll say new. So new is a keyword which we use to create an object. So that is what it will do. It will create an object of that error class, and the throw will simulate the error, that occurrence of the error. It will simulate the occurrence of the error, right? But this particular class is residing in a different package, right? It's in its own package. So always the reference should be package name dot class name, as we have already discussed. So it has to be package name dot class. So balance, if the balance is less than amount, I do not want to go ahead in the execution of this method. I want the execution to be terminated here itself. And what happens, like whenever the method finishes, either it finishes its execution or it gets terminated, where does the control go? The control goes to the caller, whoever is the caller of this. That is what happens, right? Whenever any method finishes, so the control moves back to the caller, right? Over here, like over here, withdraw amount, right? So whenever the withdraw amount finishes its execution, the control moves back to the caller, but to the next statement from where it has been called. So that is what happens in case the execution, the normal execution flow of any method gets terminated. So either your withdraw amount finishes successfully or it gets terminated. The control is always going to fall back here. It is going to return here. And here we are going to check what has happened here inside, whether everything was fine inside or there was a problem there. Okay, so how it is indicating it, how this method is indicating that whether everything is fine here or error here. So it is indicating the error situation by throwing an exception here, right? So what will happen whenever this method will terminate? Okay, it will come back here with the reason of the termination. Okay, so the normal flow this terminate. Okay, so whenever it terminates, whenever any method terminates, the control goes back to the caller, but with the reason of that termination. Always, any method when it terminates abruptly, it goes to the caller, but it doesn't go with the empty hands. It goes there with the reason. What was the reason of that? So here we are going to check whether, like, what has happened. Like if it got successful, there won't be, like, it is going to come back with empty hand, then like there won't be anything which would be notified here. But if something goes wrong here, the reason, it is going to get terminated here and going to come back to the caller with that reason. Okay, so we have to, like, what that reason is. The reason is this object, the exception object. So if the termination happens, it is going to come back here with that reason, with that exception object. So what we will do, we will just check, here what has happened, here in this. So whether it came back with the reason or with the exception object, or it came back without any exception object. So how can we check it? So what we will do is we have to put it in the try. So we'll just put this statement in the try. Okay. So what will happen if something goes wrong here? If something goes wrong, like this error, occurs. So the execution of this method is going to get abruptly terminated with the exception object. That exception object is what it is going to come back with here. Okay, there is a problem. So once there is a problem, the Java knows that, okay, there is a problem here, and Java is going to terminate everything, and we will not be having the execution of this. Okay, now let's see. I wanted to I want to show you in the execution, but let's first compile the things one by one. We have to compile first this particular class, our exception class. We have not yet compiled this, which we have just recently written, right? So let's compile this. So I'll say Java C, and the exception class, account system exceptions. So I'll say account system exceptions, and insufficient, or what's the name, balance not sufficient. Correct. So we compiled it. Then next, what we want to compile? Now we want to compile our account. So why? Because we have, and then we will compile the demo and run it, and then we will see what happens there. Okay. Now let's understand this. This is going to be very important, guys. Seriously, I'm speaking. When it comes to Java, like usually people think that, okay, there is going to be some high fundu programming or something. No, it is not high fundu. It is just a simple implementation we are doing, just that we are understanding the usage of different concepts which we usually come across. Okay, like exception handling, we usually understand, then static and all. So we are just, this is very simple implementation. There is nothing complicated here, but we are just trying to understand each and every feature which we usually come across with the help of some implementation of it, right? Now here I will compile the account class. So let's compile it. I already have the account compilation statement. Okay, anyways, I'll just do it here. Account system. Right. Now there is a problem. Now let's see what is this is a very interesting problem. Let's see what it is. Now what is happening is this particular method, this withdraw amount, okay, it is causing an exception. Do you see here? It is causing an exception. It is causing an exception. Now, if this exception occurs, I mean, it becomes a reality that balance is indeed a less than amount, and it is causing an error. So it is going to have an impact on the execution of it, on itself, that is there. But also, this error is going to get thrown back to the caller as well. Like this call is going to return with the error object. If the error indeed occurs inside the implementation, as I had told you, whenever the function completes successfully, the call comes back without any error. But if it gets terminated, if it comes back as a result of a termination, then it comes back with the error. Okay, so the problem is that it is causing an error. So if that error occurs, it is going to get terminated and going to go back with the error here to the caller. Now what compiler is saying, that compiler is saying that withdraw amount, you are causing an error that is have a solution, that is, so you are throwing back that same error to the caller. So the caller will also have the impact of that error. So what happens is whenever any exception occurs, it not only it not only causes the I mean, it not only affects the execution of that function, but it also affects the normal flow of their callers as well. So what compiler is saying, you are causing an exception because you want your execution to be terminated abruptly. That's what you want. That's fine. But then you are causing the the flow, the regular flow of your callers also will be impacted because of that error. Okay, that is what you are doing here, right? So you are doing something wrong, which is not, I mean, loyal thing to do, because you are causing some problem which you are not handling. So it is going, your call is going to go back to the caller with that error, and it is going to have the impact on their executions now. But you are not notifying about such thing to the callers. If at all you are causing an error, okay, if at all you are causing an error and want your successful execution to be terminated, and you want to go back to the caller with the error object, then it's your it's your duty to tell them about this. Okay, like I have some error which I'm not handling. So if that error becomes in reality, then it is going to come back to you guys. So you please take care of yourself. That is something it should indicate here, right? And that is where the throws block comes into picture. Okay, now what is here? Like for this particular function, this is an exception, right? It is causing, which it is not handling. It is not caring about that, because it wants to get terminated and it wants to go back to the caller with that error object. So this function wants the caller to take an action on that particular thing. That's fine. But then in this case, it should at least notify about this to the callers, so that callers will understand, okay, we are calling some function which may which may cause an exception, which is bound to come back to us, and we are going to be responsible for taking care of against that, right? So it is actually delegating the responsibility. It is not handling that responsibility, the problem which it is causing. It is not handling it. It is asking the caller to handle it. I am causing an error. You please take care of yourself. I don't care, right? But then at least it should indicate it over here. So how the function, if at all it is causing an error and not handling and want the callers to handle those, how it notifies about such scenarios to the caller? Using throws block. Throws means what? What this method says? This method says I may throw this exception. So you please take care. Okay, so here throws this exception. Now you guys must have heard about it. Throws, in interviews also. Many times we get this question, what is the difference between throw and throws? People will give the difference. But what about the implementation? So this is the implementation. So throws is about notifying the callers about the the exception situations, the error situations, right? So this method is going to get terminated abruptly if this becomes the reality. Balance is less than amount. It is going to get terminated. That termination is going to be with the object of the exception. It is going to come back here, and then this method is required to take care of that problem. Otherwise, if it doesn't take care, that is going to have an impact on this. Now I want to show that impact to you. We will see that what impact the caller gets if they are calling such a function which is going to cause an exception, which is going to come back to the caller. So what does what impact does that have on the execution of the caller? We will see that. That's what now I'm going to show you. But it becomes the responsibility of the function here, that to at least notify the callers about such situations. That is what the throws block is doing here. Okay, so this method says I may throw this exception. You please take care. Now let's compile. Correct. So compiler was not allowing this function to compile, because what compiler was saying is you are causing this exception, so you are not declaring it. So you should if you are causing any problem, so at least you please handle that, or if you do not want to handle, at least notify about it to the callers, right? So you cannot just run away from these things, right? So at least like causing, at least notified to the caller, so that once they will get the notification about such thing, they can they would be in a position to handle and I mean get saved against the impacts of such scenarios, right? So now our account is successfully compiled. Now let's see the system. So I'll just compile this because I want to show you the impact, and I'll just compile account system demo. Achha, let me not do this. We will talk about this afterwards to try, because I want to show you the real impact of the problem here. Okay, forget about the try for now. Okay, now what it is saying, see. Now that is what the compiler is again understanding, that withdraw amount, this withdraw amount. Okay, it is having in its definition that it may cause an exception, because that is what it is declaring. It is declaring it that I may cause this problem. You please take care. So what compiler is warning us now, that warning to this function is that okay, you are calling something which is going to cause a problem. Okay, because this function itself has declared it in its definition. So now that is what the compiler is now warning us, or the indicating us now, that this function is calling some function which is causing a problem. So if that becomes a reality, that problem is bound to come back to you, because this call will now, like the call to this function is will get returned with that error object. It is going to get returned with that error object. So that error is going to come back to you, and that error, because of that error, your further execution may not take place. The other statements in your body from that call onwards may not get executed, because as soon as Java knows error, okay, Java got caused here, it got thrown back here. And who is the caller of this function? Java, no? Java is going to be the caller. Like this is how we are going to call that function. I mean the class. Yeah, this one. We are going to call this account system demo class. So account system demo class is nothing but main method. So that error is going to come back here. Now who is executing this main function? Java system. So when the Java system will know about it, Java knows only one thing, that to terminate everything. Okay, something went wrong, let's terminate everything and let's not cause the more damage. Okay, now that is what that compiler is warning us, that this function is going to get executed by the Java. Now when Java will know about the error, Java is going to terminate it. So if you do not want your execution to be terminated such abruptly, then you please take some some steps for it. You take care of it. So how can this function take care against the error? Now what this function wants, this function doesn't want the error to be like the any exception. Like if you have say 10 functions, function 1 is calling 2 3 4, so you have got some functions calling each other, and if any error occurs at the 10th function, so that error object go back to the 9, 9 to 8, 8 to 7, 7 to 6. This is how it is going to traverse back. And as soon as it will reach to the function which the Java system is running, when it will know about this, oh, something went wrong there, let's terminate everything. So it is going to terminate the function which that the Java system is calling, right? Now, how any function can take care of such things? Now, there is only one way of not getting terminated abruptly. See, there is only one point. If Java knows about a problem, Java is going to terminate you. Okay. But if you do not want Java to know about this situation, you please stop that error object there and there itself, and let's not let doesn't let it go to the Java. Whatever the object, the this withdraw amount, in case of an exception, this withdraw amount call is going to come back with this object of an exception. Okay, so it is going to come back here with an error object. So if Java gets to know about that object, Java is going to terminate it. So what is the way? You please hold your object to its yourself and don't let it go to the Java system. Then only you can can prevent the abrupt termination of yourself. So how the function can hold the object? So in this case, function needs to hold the object which would be thrown back with the return. Okay, so function needs to hold it over here itself, otherwise it will reach to the Java system, and then Java system, once it will get to know about it, it is going to terminate, and then there won't be any further executions, because as soon as the problem occurs, okay, as soon as the problem occurs, the termination is bound to happen. Now what this function, now it has, right, I'll accept that effect of me being terminated abruptly, or if this wants do not want to get terminated abruptly, then it has to handle it. So how can we handle that against that termination? So it has to hold that object to itself. How can it hold? For that, it has to have a call in the try. Try means what? This is some function, successful execution of which is not guaranteed. It all depends upon what would be the scenarios at runtime. If everything goes wrong, I mean, if everything goes right here, that balance is indeed greater, then it would be successful. If not, there would be an error, but it's not surety. Successful execution of this cannot be guaranteed. It may or may not. It's always going to be a may or may not thing, guys. Okay. So such things should always be called in a try. the successful execution of which cannot be guaranteed. And that is the scenario here. So try. So what it will do? It will catch. So it will just whatever the error object will come back in when this call will get written with the error object of our this one, okay, when it will be here with that object, we want to store that object. We do not want to let it go to the Java, right? So that is what the catch block does. So what does catch block do? Whenever any methods written in the try comes back, due to the abnormal termination of them, comes back with the error object. So catch block helps you in holding those objects so that they will not reach to the Java and Java will not terminate your executions. So here we need to catch that object and keep it to ourselves. So what do we need in order to, like, this is an object, right? So is this, so is this. This is also the object. So where we are holding it, where we are holding the object being created here in this variable, no, ACT1. So what do we need in order to hold an exception object as well? A variable, so that it can be, that in that variable it can hold that. So we need an object here. So I'm just creating an object. Any name you can give, B. What will happen whenever this method, will come back with an error object? Okay, now it will jump here and that object will get stored here in this B, and by that we can prevent it. Java will, and Java will allow us to continue our execution with this, isn't it? Right. So now let's see what happens. Let's see. So I'll just compile the demo again because we have done the changes. Okay, so demo we compiled. Now let's execute. So I'm executing. Okay, now let me fix this error. Like, this is where the exception we got. I'm just fixing it. I'm just, that thing I just did just to explain you what actually happens when any problem comes, because this null pointer exception, when it got occurred here, that exception we are not handling here. We are not holding that object here. That's why Java came to know about it and Java terminated everything. If we had handled it here, then Java would have not terminated our program here, right? Okay, now let's compile and now let's execute. Okay, now let's understand the point here. Now here to 500, then we got deposited 500, so 500 plus 500, 1000. So this got printed, then it went inside withdraw amount with 2000 as an argument. Okay, so 2000 is an argument to this. So it checked here, balance is 1000 here, guys. So balance is indeed less than amount we are requesting for. So this error got thrown. Okay, so as soon as the error gets thrown, we know that the termination happens. The normal flow of the function gets disturbed, and that is what we wanted. Okay, we wanted to disturb it, so it got disturbed. The call came back with that error object. This error object it came back with, and as there is an error here, now, right? This particular call caused that error. So it went into the catch, that it stored that object here in this B, and by holding it in the B, we didn't let it go to the Java. So Java didn't know about it or couldn't know about that particular thing. Hence Java allowed us with this execution, and then our execution proceed further. But now what we want, what we said, that we want these to be executed, these two we want to be executed only if this is returns back without any error. If it returns back with the error, we do not want to execute this. So if we put it over here, then it is always going to get executed. So where we should put it? We should put it after the inside the try, after the statement. So what is the advantage of putting them in the try? So let's first understand how does try works. So how does try works? So basically try means a block inside which there are some functions, the successful execution of which cannot be guaranteed. There could be one or many. Okay. So we are not guaranteed about the successful execution of this. So hence we have put it in the try. And if it came back with the error, we do not want to have the impact of it on the execution of us. Hence we have catch that and we have just kept it to ourselves so that the Java will not know about that error and Java will let us continue. Okay, that's there. But then how does this try work? Now let's understand. How does try work? If the if the statement which is caused and returns with that problem, okay, so the entire try block gets ignored. The entire try block, whatever you have in that try block after the statement which has caused the issue. Okay, let's say before this there are few statements. Before this there are few statements. So so Java executed it. Okay, absolutely fine. The problem occurred here. Then what happens? Java only, instead of terminating everything or ignoring everything, Java only ignores the try. It only ignores the statements which are after that statement inside the try. Only the remaining try block gets ignored. Not every other statement in the program gets ignored. Only terminated. Not every, and that is what we want. That is what we want, guys, right? So we want it to be terminate our execution, and if this is successful, execute all. If this is not, then don't create the problems for other statements which may be here. Only ignore the ones which are after it inside the try. So you should always be putting the statements inside the try, those statements. Okay, please now listen it carefully. In our programs, few of the statements are functionally dependent on each other. What do I mean by that? Let's say I'm opening a file, I'm reading the file, closing the file. These are the three statements: open, read, close. Now when you want the read and close to happen, only if open is successful, isn't it? If the open itself is not successful, then what is the point in going ahead with the reading and closing, right? So read and close, they are functionally dependent on open. So if open is successful, go ahead. If not, there is no point. So always remember, guys, if you are putting any statement in the try because the successful execution of which is you are not sure about or which is not guaranteed, and if your program has any further statements which are functionally depending on it, that is what the case with these two statements. They are functionally dependent. If this is fine, then only there is point in printing what is the balance you have after the withdrawal. If the withdrawal itself is not, then what is the point in balance after the withdrawal? It is going to be the same as that of prior to the withdrawal. You tried the withdrawal, right? The balance is only going to get affected only if the withdrawal becomes successful, and hence the printing makes sense. Otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? So hence these two statements are here functionally dependent on this one, the successful execution of which is not guaranteed. So what we are indicating here, execute these two only if this becomes successful. If not, then don't do this. There is no sense. That's why all the statements which are functionally depending on the statement, on some other statement, successful execution of which is not guaranteed, all those statements should be after that statement inside the try. If you put them outside the try, So the successful or failure of the execution will not have any impact on the execution of those statements. They will always get executed, and that is what we do. A few statements to only be executed only if the previous one got successful, otherwise not. And that is what we wanted here, that we want these two to be executed only if the withdrawal is successful, otherwise we do not want. Hence we made this function to send us the notification what happened inside, and that notification is in the form of exception. If something goes wrong, give that notification in the form of exception. So that is what it is doing by throwing an exception. And what we are doing here then, if the exception is there, we do not want to execute these two. So how we achieved it? We achieved it by having these three statements inside the try. So why they are inside the try? Because we want these two to be executed only if this is successful. Right. So now if something goes wrong here, means the withdrawal cause an issue, then what is the issue? Balance is not sufficient. So whatever the message we had printed here, the same message we can print here by saying that ACT2. We can print here. Okay, so we can say you do not have sufficient balance, balance is rupees so and so. So if this is going to get written with the error, so that error we are catching here. So error catch the for that catch, and we get to know about the problem, right? Now let's see. I am doing CLS. Now I'm just going to compile this. Compilation is successful. Execution. Now the same, the same, I mean, the effect we got, like we got the same message which we used to get previously, but that time we used to get these two also getting printed, like these two also getting executed, and then this one also we were getting, which was quite misleading for the user, that after withdrawal. But you are saying that withdrawal is not successful, and then how can you say that the balance after withdrawal then? Right, so that's we just stopped. Are you getting it, guys?
Yes, Pranati.
Yeah, so here,
I have a
like
question.
yes.
So this exception class that you have mentioned, right, in the package balance not sufficient exception, and then
Hmm.
you have extended that to exception, right?
Yes.
You go to that file.
Yeah. Okay. Here it is.
Yeah. So that extends exception. So the I understand that it's kind of an inheritance, right? Here.
Yeah, it's an inheritance. It's an
So the exception
inheritance only.
class
Yeah.
is a default of Java.
E classes. Like when the exception system is implemented in the Java libraries, it has been implemented in this way. Like all the attributes, what each and every exception is required to have, all those attributes are mentioned in one class, and other classes, like null pointer, file not found, and all. They also, like, there are few attributes which are common across the different common across the different classes, and few of them are only specific to those, but most of the part is common. So
Mhm.
instead of defining them everywhere, so that is where the inheritance comes into picture. Like instead of making the classes defining the common attributes in their own definitions and repeating the code, why not to have them defined in one class and let the other classes inherit it from there, so that the it will save us from code duplication.
Right.
Right. So all the exception common attributes are defined in the exception class. So the null pointer exception, file not found exception, and this our exception class, all those common attributes, they are inheriting from this exception. And if at all you want something specific to your class, then you can, I mean, you are open to define it over here in your definition. But rest of the all the common attributes you will get it from this. You do not have to worry about to define them.
Okay.
That is where the inheritance comes into picture, and this class is inheriting. So each and every exception class, whatever you see null pointer, is that all of them are inherited from exception. All the common attributes are there defined in one class, and all the exception classes are getting those things from that class, inherited from that class.
Okay.
Right. So now if you see, like, we have not done any high fundu coding, we have written some logic which we are not able to, no, it's simple, but still we are trying to incorporate as many things as possible into the single implementation. That is how the things get actually clear. If I explain you the definition of the abstract class, it doesn't make any sense, seriously speaking. And when you go to the implementation of any framework, let's say, all these concepts, I mean, I'm telling you this, I'm not exaggerating the things here. All these concepts, if you have a very good understanding of this, the implementation understanding, you can extendable framework. Like, want to target different platforms and those, we can definitely do it, but we need to have a clear understanding of these concepts there. Like, we would be talking about runtime polymorphism as well, guys, remember, like, and that is what I mean. I don't remember whether I have mentioned this in the session or not, but in our organization, whatever the framework we have created, so using that framework, we write test only once. Like, I mean, we have web application, the same application we have on the mobile platforms as well, Android, iOS, Windows mobiles, Windows desktop as well. But we don't create, rather we don't write the script, I mean, separate script for to get them executed on separate platform. Like, when we started off, we actually started off with the mobile platforms first, and then we got that same application, web application, I mean the website, we for that application we got it afterwards, but we started with the mobiles. Usually people start with web and then they go to the mobile platforms, but in our case these things had happened in the reverse order somewhat. But then when I was designing the framework for those mobiles, I was having this, like, okay, whenever, like, we came up with first Android platform, iOS, and then after 2 years, I guess, rather 2012, no, 3 years. After 3 years, our company came up with the Windows Mobile. But then at the time when I was designing the framework in 2015 itself, I think 2015 we came up with Android, iOS, and then 2016 I guess we came up with the Windows Mobile. But at the time of designing the framework for Android, iOS, I was having that in mind that if at all the new platform comes up like Windows Mobile, in terms of Windows Mobile or web or anything, I want to create a framework in such a way that I should be able to extend it for those platforms. So I will not be investing my efforts in writing the scripts again just to because usually what happens is, and that happens in each and every organization, guys, please understand. Like, if you have one application, let's say CRM application, the same functionalities gets ported to the mobile version of it, somewhere here and there. Like, some of the functionality will not be there, some of would be there, but most of the functionalities we put on the mobile platform. So whatever the test cases you have or you have implemented, those are absolutely, at least few of them or major part of the chunk of them are absolutely applicable to that other platform. Then why to invest the time again in order to reinvent the wheel, right? And I didn't want to reinvent the wheel for the other platforms. So when I was designing, like, I designed in such a way that if any other platform, our company wants to introduce in terms of desktop, then we came up with desktop also, we came up with web also, Windows mobiles also. But then our same test, whatever we had written while writing it for Android platform, the same test works on our Windows mobiles, Windows desktop. So we didn't write any test repeatedly. whatever we had written in 2015, the same works, like for the platforms, these platforms. So such kind of extendable framework, if you want to build, you should have a very good understanding of the implementations of these functionalities. And we had used runtime polymorphism, by the way, in order to use it. I mean, I have seen the frameworks where blah 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 thing, the frameworks are not getting created in extendable way. And that is what I'll be telling you, how can we create it in extendable way. If at all you guys want to extend the support for the mobiles as well, I'll be giving you an idea how can we go it. And maybe we may not be able to we may not get a time to go to each and every point of it, but at least you will get an idea, okay, this is how the runtime polymorphism can be used in order to achieve this. Okay, so that this is what I just wanted to concentrate more on when it comes to the Java sessions. I'm not here to give you the definitions at all. I know most of you know these, like abstract class, what is this, what is final, there is static. Now, if you see, there is a very important problem what we have in our implementation here. Okay, there is one more field which is missing here, and one more very important operation which is missing from the definition, that is interest. Okay, why do we keep our amount in the account? We want to earn interest, right? But we have not talked about the interest, and that is going to be very interesting now. How then the interest portion can be implemented with some other features. Now, if you just observe, we covered in such a simple implementation which spans across only 4 files. We have only 4 Java files, not much, but we have covered user defined exceptions, we have covered throw, we have covered throws, try catch, right? Then we talked about public. We haven't yet talked about protected and private though, but we would be. Now we are going to talk about yet another feature. Now let's see what is that. Now let's understand first what is the problem, and then we will see how can we solve that problem with the new feature which we would be now discussing about. Now one very important field which is missing from the definition is interest rate. Now let's talk about it. I'll say double interest rate. And interest rate, let's say I want to keep it as 10%. 10 the interest rate. Okay. Now if I define this variable like this, which is called as an instance variables, these variables are called as instance variable. Why? Because with every instance, new copies of the variables are going to get created. That is what happened here, right? So when we created account one, so the new copies of account number and balance were created. Created account 2, new copies for its own copies, account number and balance created. That will happen in case of interest rate as well. Like if I define the interest rate like this, like whenever you will create account 1 object, it will get its own copy of interest rate. Account 2, it will get its own along with account number and balance. Now the objects will also get their own copies of interest rates as well. Account 3, 10, 100. So let's say my bank has got 100 accounts, and there are 100 entities present, and they have got their 3 fields: number, balance, interest rate. But very important point here is that interest rate, like if we talk about account number, balance, everyone can have different account number and different balance. Okay, so the balance will all be depending upon how many deposits he has done and how many withdrawals he has done. Account number also is going to be different for everyone. But is it with the interest rate as well? No, interest rate everyone has same interest rate, right? Like if that person is having a savings account, let's say in a particular account, we have not yet started talking about the types of accounts, but we will. But as of now, let's assume that the bank has only one type of an account and that has gotten 10% interest rate. But it is there common for all the people having account in the bank. Okay, it's not that person one has. I'm not talking about loan account. I'm talking about saving or the investment accounts. I'll say. Okay, so everyone has the same interest rate, right? Now the problem is if we define this variable as this, every object will have its own copy. So account 1's interest rate has got 10, account 2's copy of interest rate has got 10, account 3 has got 10. Now if bank decides to change the interest rate, let's say from 10 to 15 or 10 to 5, so that change, in order to get it affected or get it reflected for all the accounts, I have to change the interest rate copy of account, isn't it? Interest rate that way I need to do, right? Because whenever there would be any change, that change we want to distribute that change to each and everyone over there having an account with us. It's not only going to be only for one person. It is always going to be, the change is always going to be for all. So if we define this variable as an instance variable like this, where every object is having its own copy, then it would be very difficult for us to do the modification, because the modification is going to be for all the same value. Whenever it would be modified, that same value we want to be with with all the objects. Now what is the problem here is, like if the change, then we have to do the change in the copies of each and every object, which is unrealistic, right? If I have 1,000 lakhs of accounts objects, so I cannot just say ACT1 dot interest rate this, ACT2 dot interest rate 5, ACT3 dot interest rate 5. It's not good. Then what to do? Now we have a certain information which we want to share amongst the objects, like some of the information which is specific to the object, like account number, balance, specific. Each one can have different. But whereas there is one kind of an information here which we want to share. So if you have any information which you want to share, then that information should not be saved in the instance variable. You should be saving it in static variable. That is where the static variable comes. So static variable, if you define this variable as a static, that is what now we are going to do. It's created, every object, a new copy of the variable gets created. But with respect to static, what is the case? The static, only one copy of the variable gets created and all the objects get that same reference, like ACT1, wherever this variable will be created in the memory at whatever address, that same address ACT1 is going to save, ACT2 object is going to save the same thing. So ACT1 dot interest rate and ACT2 dot interest rate is ultimately an access to the same address. It's not different. But whereas ACT1 dot account number and ACT2 dot account number, they are actually the references to two different memory addresses, right? So instance variables and the static variables, that is what the static is all about. If I had given you a definition here that static variable is a variable which can be accessed with the class reference, it doesn't make sense at all in terms of the implementation of it. But if we understand it in this way, that instance variables are those variables which basically contains the data for every object. Like if the data is going to be the specific for each, it should be stored in the instance. If the data is something which is going to be shared or which is required to be shared by all, it should always be stored in static, because static variable has got only one existence, only one static variable is existed. Whereas instance, as many objects you have, those many number of copies you have for the instance. But static, there is only one, right? So that's why our interest rate should be static here. It should not be instance, right? So interest rate is static. Now we will implement one method called earn interest. Interest on. So the logic is again same. I mean it's simple. Interest earned equal to. So how do we calculate the interest? Whatever the balance we have, okay, balance into the rate right divided by 100. So we get the as in here in this way for a balance, right? So I'll say balance balance equal to balance plus and I've got that. Just a minute. Let me balance plus earn interest, right? So I'll say this operation is not going to have anything to return. Whatever it is processing, it is again adding it back to the balance. So there is no return, hence void. There is no argument to it. I mean, there is no external data required, hence no parameters. As simple as that. So an interest balance. Okay, like talk about the other. I mean, I was just about to say something, but that is something which we will talk about when we will see the inheritance. Let's the earn interest be like this as of now. Okay, so balance like interest earned equal to balance into interest rate and 100. Okay, now we will just just let's call that. So I'll say ACT1 dot. So the account one has earned the interest. So obviously everyone is going to earn the interest based on I mean on the amount he or she has in his or her account, right? Always going to be a different for everyone. So ACT1 dot earn interest, right? And then let's say I want to print the balance. Let's say I want to print the balance after I earn the interest. I want to know it. What is it after earning the interest? So I'll just say account number so and so has balance rupees so and so after earn interest. Just make it right. And the same I want to do it for my account 2 as well. right? So ACT2 dot earn interest. So then we will again retrieve the balance, and here we will say ACT2 dot account number as balance, so and so. Correct. Now we have to compile two classes. One is this account one, where we added the new variable as well as the method. So we added this variable and we added this method, right? So I'll just say CLS, and now let's compile this for the earn successfully these added things into the bytecode of this class first, right? So let's compile. Okay, I'll just say account system account.java, right? And then let's compile account system demo CLS, and now let's run. Now let's see. Okay. Okay, let's now here account number is 1, initial balance is 1000, deposit amount 500, then sorry, deposit amount 500, so 1500 became the balance here. So that's what we got here. So account number 1 has got the balance 1500. Then we called earn interest. So here earn interest we are calling with the reference of ACT1. So let's go here in the earn interest, right? So balance, so ACT1 dot balance is 1500 into 10%. Okay, so we got 150 rupees. 10% of 1500 is 150. So we earned 150 rupees. So balance 1500 plus 150. ACT1 dot balance got updated to 1650. Right? So that is what we got here. Get balance. ACT1's reference is sent inside the get balance. So here in the get balance, we are saying ACT1 dot balance, we are returning, we are storing, and then we are getting it here 1650. That's what we got here. Account 1 has balance 1650 after earning interest. Okay, now let's move ahead. ACT2. So ACT2 has 500 initial balance, then we deposited 500, came rupees as balance 1000. Then next, here we tried withdrawing 2000 rupees here, so that withdrawal got failed because of this error here, right? And we got this catch executed saying that you do not have sufficient balance is so and so. So we got this message, you do not have sufficient balance is 1000. Then we earn interest on this account as well, the 10% interest. So where the balance is 1000, so 1000's 10% is 100 rupees. So balance became 1100, and that is what we got here. Now if at all I want to update, now what advantage we will get from making that interest rate static, I'll tell you. Now if I want to update, let's say RBI had decided to revise the interest rates to say 20%, for example. For the sake of simplicity of the calculation, let's make it 20%. So I'll say update the interest. But in order to update the interest rate here, it has to be public variable, isn't it? Like the variable, if you want to access it, right? You want to access it from outside, the access should be granted to that variable. Now let's say the class, usually the class, like these variables we made public, account number, balance, just to got rid of some errors. Like previously we were having some errors, account number, balance were not public and all. So we wanted to get rid of those errors, hence we made it public. But this is not the way we should handle the situation. Now let's understand the, usually we call as an abstraction, like one of the principles of object oriented languages. We call encapsulation, we say polymorphism, we say abstraction, and then inheritance. So abstraction, so what is it? So usually the class, like if you made these variables public like this, like the way we did it, what we are able to do, see here now, this is very interesting. What is the problem in this approach? We are able to give the account number and balance, that's fine. 1,000 rupees I am giving. Now what? Now the balance should always be changed only through the exercise of these two operations, deposit and amount, isn't it? When you go to the bank and you only have the I mean the option to initially state how much amount you want to put into the bank account, but after that all the changes are only be controlled by your two operations. The changes to the balance are only should be through two operations, that is deposit and withdraw. But here right now if you see, the problem is this balance variable is public. Okay, so somebody, like I can do this as well. Okay, I'll just, before I earn the interest, I can say I have 10 lakhs of rupees or whatever. I can do this as because that variable is exposed to me here, right? And that is where the problem of the security of the data arises. That's why classes, understand this, the the encapsulation is about an abstraction. They are about this as well, like the data which the class has, the variables. So class is the whole and sole owner of that data. Okay, so if you want to secure your data from such kind of accesses, you should not make the variables public or should not make them accessible. If you do, if you do, then such kind of things can happen. Like if you are making the variable accessible, it means there are two possible accesses to any variable. One is the set where you can set the data, and the other one is get. So if the variable is accessible to you, it means you can perform both these kinds of operations, set as well as get. So we are able to get and we are also able to set, which is not correct. It's fine that we are able to get it, but we should not be able to set it. Like we want to get the balance, and that is absolutely fine. Like if somebody wants to know what is his balance, then it's fine, but he should not be able to set it outside of deposit and withdraw amount. Deposit amount and withdraw amount, only these two operations are allowed to increase or decrease the balances, or they should only be allowed to do some setting to the balance variable. But here there is a problem here, right? Now what happens? Okay, so how the class handles this? So that is where the abstraction and encapsulation is all about again. Class doesn't exposes the variable, okay, and it should not. So what we will do is we will not expose this variable, because if we expose, then both the two kinds of operations are are made possible there, right? Get and set. Whereas we want to get, okay, we want the user to get, but we do not want the user to set. So we will restrict the access by saying, by just keeping it to itself. We can keep it to itself as well. Maybe by we will remove the public. Like if we remove the public, then the variable is not accessible here. You cannot access it like this here, because that variable is not, you know at all, right? But the class doesn't want the set access to happen. Class wants the get access. Like the people should be able to get there. That's why class has already provided you with this get balance, by which you can retrieve the value whatever is there in that variable, but that you should not be able to set it. That's it. And if at all you want, like, I mean, the set is also possible to the balance, but only at the time of opening an account, not after that. Okay, not after that, guys. This is very important. You can go to the bank and say that I want to initial balance, I want to open an account with the initial 1,000 rupees. That is fine. But after that, you are not, only deposit and withdraw is should only be, you know, should only be there. Now, what we will do is, we will, previously we had exposed this, but the expose of the variable creates the problem. So we are not exposing it now anymore, this particular variable. And now what we will do is, okay, but the problem is that if we restrict the access here, then we will start getting the issues here, like the, because the account wants to mention the initial amount. Account wants to mention the initial amount here while getting opened. Maybe not after that, but at the time, at, I mean, one time at least it requires that access where it can set the desired value to it. But how can we make it possible then, right? So how to make it possible that we want the access, set access, the user should be able to set the desired value into the variable only once, but not after that. Okay, only once at the time of creation, say, but not after that. Now after that, the access to the, you know, the variable should only be controlled by some operations. Okay, right? So how can we make it possible? Now let's understand this. Now we will not expose this variable anymore. We will get the issue over here, sorry, over here and over here as well for the account here. But at the time of creation of the objects, we want to, we want the user to be able to set the desired values into them. And that is where the parameterized constructors comes into the picture. Currently, this constructor is creating the variables. Okay, it is creating the variables, no doubt. It is first creating the, whenever they would be created, they would be created with whatever the values we want to put inside them. So can we do that provision? Yes, we can. We can do that provision, that at the time of creation we want the values to be put, because after that we cannot, we do not have any other chance, we do not have second chance, we have only one chance, that is, and that chance is at the time of creation. So how can we restrict any variable to have the desired value only at the initial stage, that is at the time of creation, but not after that? That is what we want. So we have restricted the access, but again we have to make a provision here where the, while the object is getting created, so instead of getting these values created, why not to have them created with our own values? So we have to make that provision. So how can we make that provision? So this is a default constructor which the Java compiler provides you, and that the job of that default constructor is to get that variables created with the default values. But can we have our own version of the constructor? Because here I do not want the variables to be created with the default values, I want them to be created with my own values. So can we have our own constructor? Yes, we can. That is what we are going to do. So we are going to implement our own constructor, which will give an option to, to set the variables with the desired values. So we will say public, we want this constructor to call from the outside of the package, like whoever is interested in creating the object, so they should be able to call it, hence it should be exposed. Now what we want to create an object with, we want the user to set two things, because no account can exist without account number. Okay, account number is very important. So for creating an object, or of this account, it is very, like, it is compulsory to mention the account number as well as balance. Maybe your bank may give you an option to open a zero balance account as well. Okay, so So in that sense, there would be two ways to create an object. Account number is compulsory. There is no doubt about that. The balance can be optional. So if you mention the balance, your account would be created with that mentioned balance. If not, then it would be a 0. Let's talk balance. So here we'll have the parameters here. ACNO, some name. Okay. What we will do at the time of creation, now it is compulsory because there is no way after that to mention the value. So at the time of creation, for creation of an object, it is now compulsory for you to send two arguments. So whatever you want your object to be created with, those values you are now expected to send to the constructor like this. Okay. Now this is not possible anymore, and we don't need as well, because now we have done it. We will talk about the account number afterwards, but for now we do not need this as well, because we have already mentioned what value we want to go inside the account number. So what we are doing is we are calling this constructor, but now with our desired values. So 1 and 1000. So to accept those values, we have got the parameters here. So 1 would be here and 1000 would be accepted here in the B. And then what we want with them, we want to set those values to our variables which are getting created. Account number, what account number at the time of creation, what we want the account number to have? Obviously the value which we have got in this ACNO, and what we want in this balance now, we want right. So this is how we can make a provision here, guys, providing the parameter. Want the, but not with the default values. We want it to be constructed with our own values, because after that we do not have any chance to keep our values into the variables. Are you getting, guys? Any queries, any questions? I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible for you guys, because by these are all hypothetical examples, I do agree, but then these are enough to understand the different concepts from the Java language, at least the ones which we need in the Selenium as well as the framework development. Guys, any queries?
Any queries, team? Please respond. Are you all there or?
No, Pranay. Actually, this quite tough for me. I don't first of all.
Sorry, I am not able to hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, I am saying that today's session is quite tough for me. I don't know the rest of all, so I need some time to understand. And after this session, I will definitely read it out all this stuff. So if you have any query, then we will definitely get back to you over the WhatsApp.
Absolutely, no. What I'm asking is, see, I'm not expecting you guys that after the session now you should be able to create any example right from. No, that is not expectation. What is expectation is, at least you should be able to understand, okay, what is going on and why it is going on, like why we are using this, why you are using that,
Yeah,
what is the reason behind that. If at all in that perspective, if you guys are able to understand the things, that's more than enough, guys. See, always remember one thing, whenever you are learning anything, there has to be some prior expectations set. Now we should not set any expectation that okay, I should be able to do this right from scratch. No, that takes time.
definitely.
The first phase, see, the first phase is always about understanding, and the second phase is also always about the to be able to do. I'll give you one example. When I was setting up a Nexus repository, I was not at all aware of what is Nexus repository and all, but I usually only concentrate on understanding the concept first. Okay, what Nexus repository is all about and what it does. and then how it will help me to solve the problem which I am having currently. Okay, that's it. That only I understand in the first phase of the study, and the second phase always starts with starts after that, where then we just check, okay, what settings we need to do, what we need to, how to make it work and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to say here is that you should also be doing the same thing. Like in the sessions, I'm not expecting you guys, like I will not be, expecting it to from you that okay, you should be able to now implement any system. No, my expectation is simply that at least you should be able to get the, these concepts you might all these whatever. What I want to you guys to do now, try to now you guys know the concepts, but now try to match them with the implementations here. So why I'm telling you all these reasons behind all this is because I want you guys to understand the reasons behind using such thing in such a way. Why to use static? Why not to use now not to define that variable in instance way? That reason, even if you understand, that is more than enough for our sessions, guys. Seriously, I'm saying it's not at all possible for anyone, like even if you are like you guys or me maybe, like it's not at all possible. I also don't like when I learned Nexus, I only got to know okay what it is does and what it what problem it solves. But then in order to get it worked, I have to do a lot of practice on that, and I have to do a lot of research on that after that. But it's the second phase is time consuming, no doubt. That is not something which we can expect from anybody, after going through the sessions. Just the expectation is everyone should at least be able to understand what we are doing and why we are doing. How we are doing, that comes into the second phase always. So I want you guys to concentrate on what and why, and how is something we will concentrate afterwards. Right, so let's not get into the how, just concentrate on what is that concept and why we are doing it. I
Uh,
just,
he- Hello.
yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah. Can you like little explain the work which you gave yesterday about that class vehicle?
yeah, absolutely.
So it would be
Basically
good to map for me, I guess.
okay, basically the vehicle class which I had asked you guys to write, the way we are representing the account entity here, so likewise we will represent the vehicle entity. Okay, so how can we represent it? I'll tell you. I'll just write few things so that you guys can get some. Uh, but I just want to ask you one thing, guys. Like is it someone like do we have anyone here that who is not understanding anything at all? Do you have any such things? Please tell me. Like if it is the case, please let me know that as well, because as far as understanding is concerned, I am expecting only the understanding as of now. I am not expecting you guys to be able to do from scratch. Are you guys getting what we are doing and why we are doing that? Yes.
Yeah, Ruchit here. Like for me, I'm able to understand the concepts, but I'm not yet able to map the.
Ruchit?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. To the
Yeah, just
vehicle
hold on.
class, we will do that.
Yeah, just hold on. Hey, team, if you're not interested, please, I request you to log out and start working on your assignments or the task. But if you are there in the class, I expect that you respond yes or no to what Pranodaya is asking. So, Reshma, Komal, Yashashree, are you all there? Shubham? Guys, please at least have a courtesy of responding yes, no, or if you have doubts, please ask. Please interrupt. but at least be interactive. I don't need to remind you all this. And definitely, if you're not interested, you can leave and you can start working on your task.
Pranode,
Yes.
I have implemented your example which you have given yesterday very well. But I have some query I will ask after this session. Means
Sure, definitely. But guys, you know what happens is like in online session, this is a drawback of this medium actually. Like you know, if I was in front of you guys, then it would have been more easy for me to know that whether you guys are able to get it what I'm saying or not. But as now we are working in such a medium that if you guys are having any issues or any problem as well, then you should be, if not have any way to know whether the people are following up with me or they are having some problems with some concepts here. But I would like to know that if at all it is the case, I would like to know. I mean, I will help, because you know I'm just trying to make the things very simple. Like if you go and look at the books, in the books, the you know these concepts will look very you know they might appear as very complex there, because the context which you will get in the book, you will not get the context of one end-to-end example. Here we are trying to implement one end-to-end example where it will have all the required functionalities what we need to know. But such thing you will not get in any of the books. Like even if I share you the complete reference, that complete reference will have only the concept and some small example having the usage of that concept, but you will not find an example here. Example how it work, like you know what kind of features it need to, and how can we implement that features into it with the help of this abstract classes and you know overloading, overriding and stuff like that. That's why I just need to know, like you know, how is it, how you guys are finding it. Yes,
actually
yes,
from my
sir.
side it is I'm getting clear about some topics which I have a confusion earlier, like static
Correct.
keyword, and so when I will try to implement that, then the concept will be more clear for me. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Pranode, you there?
Yes, guys.
Hello.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, now we are able to hear you.
Yeah, actually, I just had a network disconnection. Yeah. Yes, please. Please speak out, guys, if you have any queries, any questions, any suggestions. I would.
Uh,
See,
Pranade, if
basically,
you,
guys, whatever the. Yeah, yes,
yeah,
please.
you carry on. I will declare.
No, I was saying like, you know, the content what we have, you know, it's quite comprehensive, guys. So, usually it may appear that like we are going quite fast or something. It may appear to you nonsense as well, like because I want everyone to understand, the at least understand. I'm, as I said, I'm not expecting you guys to be able to do all these things on your own at the first instance. No, that's not an expectation at all. but at least my expectation is that I should one of you, like the people who have know this, who are aware of this concept. Maybe I'm trying to give them the. Hello, is it fine now?
Yeah,
Are you guys able to hear
voice
me?
is breaking.
Is it fine now or still it is breaking?
Now it is
Let
fine.
me change.
Now it is
Okay.
fine.
Okay, so yeah, so I was saying like I just want to make sense to each one of you. I mean, you guys should at least be able to understand what is going on. Though maybe the doing is something which we can defer it to the latter stages, but at least the understanding is something which we should be concentrating on.
Getting it, sir.
Okay. Anything else, guys? Any suggestions you would like to which
Pranad, I
will
have some suggestion.
yes, yeah,
Uh,
please.
so basically, I understand that we have a comprehensive lecture here,
Right.
but while giving assignments or giving some examples, can you break them down into their respective categories, like inheritance to be a separate assignment, or with the solve or some sample codes, so that we can refer and understand that concepts and recall this lecture again, and we can correlate to it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. See, why I'm trying to do basically why I'm trying to do it in a one example, because as I said, I want to build an context of it, because if I
Correct.
give you like basically like when it comes to inheritance, now if I give you just a out of the box example of inheritance, you may not be able to understand the context of it. That's why
Correct.
I just for that context building, I'm not taking different examples. I'm just continuing with the implementation of single one, because that is what usually happens. Like when you take up anything to implement, you start implementing, then you get to know about it, then you should be able to understand, okay, now this is the problem here, now which feature of the from Java will help me in this. So that kind of real context I'm actually trying to build of implementing one thing, something which is end to end here.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
I mean, I today I'll share with you, like if you want a small examples, I have a book. I mean, have you guys heard of complete reference, Java complete reference? Have you heard of? I have that book with me with Prakash. You please take care of sending it to the rest of the people. So
Right.
that it does have the small examples, but usually I mean, I don't know like whether it will create a real context with in the minds of you or not, but here I'm trying to give you an experience of implementing something end to end. Like we started by representing one entity, and how are we then making it feature rich. Like I want to implement this, I want to implement that, but then while implementing this I also want to take care of this. So how can we make all these things happen? So that is why I'm just continuing the implementation of a single system here, like the
Mm.
vehicle, like the example which I had given you guys yesterday. That is also something which we can take up for the implementation, so that the people will understand it with the context of some other example. Okay, vehicle, when it comes to vehicle, what would be static over there, what would be like constructor, how it would be there, inheritance, how it would be over there. So that is something we can also do. That's not a problem at all, but I'm just sticking to this example because we started understanding the from the basics into this, and I want to build that context here, where you guys should know while because what happens is when you start implementing something, even if it is a framework, so when you start implementing, then you got to know, okay, but this is where I want the Android test to be extending from, or iOS test to be extending from. So there I want each one of you to at least get an idea. Okay, so in the end-to-end implementation, if we get a requirements like this, So which feature we should be have the implementation? So
so I just came across like one more thought. Maybe I'm not sure if it's suitable for you. If you can just mention a one-liner for the method or the technique that you are explaining. For example, now that you explained the static one, right?
right.
So when you define that static variable, maybe probably you can comment and put one line over there that what it is and why it is used, or what is the advantage or something like that, in a very short note or one liner kind of thing in that code, so that
No,
you know.
I already have those notes created, which I would be sharing with you. That's why I'm not writing in our example. I have I have those things written in some
Okay.
other file, which I would be sharing with you. I'm just waiting so that, I mean, unless and until we really have discussed the comprehensive content, I thought of like sharing that will not help you. That's why I didn't share it yesterday. But
Okay.
today I'll share it with you, where I have created this example by having the comments above it, like why a static is used here, why constructor is used here, why it has been made default, not public, and stuff like that. That I have
Okay.
already done. That I have already done for you guys. Just
For
that I
the
have
same
not yet
example.
shared. Yeah, for the same example.
Okay, that will be great. Yeah, I think that will be very helpful. So to revise
Yeah, yeah,
and
I have it. I have it. I have it.
okay.
That I'll share with you. No issues. Just that I was not doing it in this particular thing because I just didn't want to get tied with the writing, and I didn't want to disturb the flow of each one of us. That's why I didn't do it in this example. But I do have the other one where I have done all these things,
Okay.
which I'll share with you. No issues.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Yes, guys. Any other suggestions or any other things which I can help you in? In between, unless you interrupt me, I don't talk to you, because I just didn't want to lose that flow, because I'm telling you this very very clearly, because when you learn these things from many books or anything, they that doesn't seem to be very intuitive actually while learning them. But when you learn anything with this kind of an example, which has one end to end kind of a flow, it start, at least it start making some sense. Like you can also experience this. I'll share you the book. You just go through these concepts, whatever we have just learned, like constructor, this, that, and just tell me like how did you feel while reading it. Maybe it will like that reading will help you in understanding the concept, but it will not help you in understanding the implementation when any system comes up for the implementation. So that gap, usually, like whenever we learn these things in our colleges, we learn it from the definition point of view. I also had learned it in the same way, but then I got understanding that that definition doesn't really help. Only the definition, I'm saying. The implementation is something which really has an upper hand here, right? So which we should know. The definitions is something, I mean, I can also read it somewhere, but nobody nobody gives me the idea of implementation. That gap I'm trying to bridge here in our sessions. Instead of wasting the time into the definitions, I just want to be more implementation centric. And definitions, as Prakash said, that I do have, like I do have that as well with me, which I would be sharing with you. That's not a problem. And I would be also sharing with you the Java complete reference. The entire book is there, and you can go through those. But definitely you will not get it there any idea in end-to-end system. Where should I use it? That idea you will not get it there. You will only get the definitions there. Okay, what is constructor, what is static, what is this, what is that, but it will not much of help when it comes to implementation. And that gap I just wanted to just tackle here by being more implementation centric than definition centric. That's the reason, nothing else. But I have all those things which I will today share with you all. And
Yeah,
again,
Pranod,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
Pranod, Shivraj here. One more thing,
yes, sure.
if you are making some notes today in front of us, even on the program, can you please send on same day? Because
Same
what
day.
happened now,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for the same day, because we need to understand again by go through or
No,
actually.
no, no issues. Actually, yesterday my son was not feeling well. That's why, I
Yeah,
was in the entire day I was, at the doctor's place, medical and all that stuff.
oh,
That's why, I mean, I was on the leave as well yesterday. Like I had taken up a leave from my office work as well. That's why I couldn't send you guys yesterday. But today I'll send it to you immediately. Once we logged out from the session, I'll immediately send the things to the Prakash and then he will distribute it to you.
yeah,
Sorry for the yesterday. I
yeah, yeah,
couldn't
no,
find
no,
the
no
time
problem.
because of all
It
these
gets it.
things
Yeah,
yesterday. That's why I managed to send it to you all early morning today to reach to you before the session. But today I'll do it immediately after our session.
yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yes, guys, any more questions? Or is there anything, I mean, whatever we have just learned, I'm not, again, I'm saying, I'm not telling, asking it in from the context of start implementing of your, no, not in that context I'm asking. I'm just asking that is there anything which you didn't understand at all out of whatever we have just learned or just discussed since yesterday, the static one, or let's say a constructor one, or maybe exception handling, four main things we discussed about, right? Anything which you would like me to explain it to you again? I'm fine in that as well. Okay, guys, don't feel shy about it. Like if even if you want me to repeat something, I'm absolutely fine in that. That's not a problem at all. But I really want each one of you to follow up with me, seriously saying. So if you at
Pranode,
all
can
And
you
have,
Pranod,
yes, yes, please.
yeah, Pranjal, go ahead.
Pranode, can you repeat the static concept again?
Sure. Okay, one. Okay, I'll do that. Yes, Shivraj, you were saying something.
No, no, I'm just telling the same thing which is Prakash already said. As explain the if any, for example, the abstraction, just explain with the short code, so we can understand how it's
Hmm.
actually work.
Fine. Perfect. I'll do that. I'll do that from next points. That's
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
And whatever I already have, like as I mentioned, I already have all these things mentioned in one of the file, in one of the batch actually. There I had done this. So yeah, that same file I'll share it with you all, so you can get the some notes as well along with the code. So yeah, I have done that and I'll share it with you.
yeah. Okay. And when you send those recordings, means how we can access the previous recording? Yeah,
Actually, guys, yeah, I got it. But here, yeah, that also, yes, that also I wanted to talk to you. If you go here, whenever we stop and then we leave the meeting, we get the recordings here, right? So the like
yeah,
I'll
but
just show you.
brother, we are logging with the guest. So is it possible to us to
No.
download those
I
recordings?
can share. No. What I'll do is I'll just share this. I'll just click on this share, and I'll just maybe the link or something that everyone your organization share. So just try it. I don't know whether it how it works because I'm for the first time I'm using this Microsoft Teams, so I'm also new to it. But just can you guys can help me in understanding this as well. I'll just see. I'll just copy this link and I'll just paste it in this chat. So can somebody by clicking on it, verify whether you guys are able to access the
Is,
recording?
is,
I've just
is the
shared it.
second date of uh, recording?
Yeah, just yeah, the yesterday's recording link I just pinned on the chat of this meeting. So you guys must have got it.
Okay.
No.
No, you didn't. You are not able to.
Let me try.
Okay,
He's
if at
asking to
all,
log in with the account.
okay, maybe then I should copy the link and mail it to someone, like maybe Prakash. I should mail it to. I'll just check. Just a second. I'll say get link.
Actually, he's asking to log in with the Microsoft account. I think we need to sign in with the Microsoft account first. After that, I think
Okay,
we'll get
okay.
that
Maybe,
details.
maybe. But what I'll do is I'll just send these links, the previous two. The today's link we will get after we end the meeting. But at least I can send the
Yeah, yeah.
links to Prakash, and you guys can just check
Yes,
whether you guys are
yes.
able to access those or not. Yeah, just a minute, guys. I'm just sharing it with you all, the link. And as well as I'll now just explain, like by the time I send the link to Prakash, I'll explain that static concept again for you. And from remember this point from here onwards as well. If you feel like something is not making sense to you at all, you have to just stop me there and there itself. Okay, first point. Second, if at all you want me to repeat anything for you, absolutely fine. I will be more than happy doing that than to have people in the session who are not able to. Okay, so I don't want that to happen with any one of you at all. I want, like I had also mentioned it in this first session, I want to make sense to each one of you, like irrespective of what backgrounds they are from, and irrespective of their experience as well. So I want to make sense to each one of you. So please help me in making sense to each one of you by asking me the questions as well as interrupting me, if required. And yeah, I mean, and asking me to explain the concepts again, if at all you need the repeat explanation. I am fine. Okay, so here we were talking about the class account, right? So I'll just come here. Right, so the account has these two variables, account number and balance. And every account entity has a different number. Let's say my account, when I open it, like I have my own account number, balance, and like the change in my balance is only limited to my account, right? If the balance of my account gets increased or decreased, there is no effect of that on some other account, right? So the account number and balance, this is the information which is specific to every object. Okay, but whereas interest rate, if you see, the interest rate information is going to be common for all the time. Interest rate, right? So interest rate, let's say the interest rate, if I have 10 people in the bank, so the interest rate is going to be same for all those 10 people, right? So if we define this interest rate as an instance variable, what will happen? For the 10 objects, there are 10 different copies of the interest rates would be created. Now, if at all I want to update the interest rate based on the IBI's a new regulation, then I have to do it for all the 10 objects. OBJ1 dot interest rate 5, OBJ2 dot interest rate. So explicitly I have to take care of updating the interest rate in each and every object's copy of the variable, isn't it? Now, this is not practical, and I mean this doesn't make sense, because we are talking about some information which we do not want to keep object specific, whereas this information is something which is are going to be the generic for all the objects, which is going to be the same for all the objects at a given point of time. So such information should be stored in static variable. So static variable allows us to share the information across the objects, right? Whereas instance variables are specific to object. obj1.balance is different than obj2.balance, and the memory references which the memories which gets referenced, those locations are also different in that case. Whereas in case of static, the memory reference is always same, which gets shared by all the objects. So obj, like if you do obj1 dot interest rate, the memory which would be referred is the same when you will do obj2 dot interest rate. So memory reference would always be the same in case of static. That's why the static variable should be used to keep the information which you want to share, and instance variables you should be using when you want to keep the object specific information. Got it?
Okay.
The usage of a static here, right? Clear the motto behind using the static variable? Now I'll just share one link with you guys, that video link. I'll just share it with Prakash. So Prakash, just let me know whether you are able to video.
ID will not, there is no any option to create an ID on Microsoft. He is telling us to just enter your company ID, mail ID or something, school ID. I think is it
That's fine. No,
possible
no,
you
you
can
can.
download?
Yeah, yeah. No, no.
Is it possible you
Shivraj.
can down? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, one point. You
Yeah,
don't need to mention any. See, you don't need to mention any work account or anything. You can mention any Gmail account of yours as well as an user ID. It will serve you as an user ID only.
yeah, it's not allowing
Actually, even I
access also.
tried, but it's not
No,
allowing us
there is
to
a one way.
log in with our personal
Possible
account.
if you download that video that your and keep it on Google Drive and share the link with us. Is it possible?
But it is like I didn't find any option to download for me as well here.
No, no,
Like if you see,
you enter those link in that Chrome. Is it possible now?
okay, let me check. Let me
Yeah,
check. I
yeah,
have
yeah,
not
please.
checked it. Let me check. Oh, sorry.
Same page
Yeah,
we are
just
getting.
a second. Yeah, but I do have already an account, right?
Yeah, yeah, please check
The
with
host
that.
account.
Yeah, yeah, please.
I have it. Yeah, over here I have it. So I'll just check this with this account ID. Another thing at that project is software. Okay. Right. So let me check. Let me check by going down. Just a minute, let me pause this. Okay. And let me check. Maybe guys, you guys will also get an access to it once you will sign in. I mean sign up with some user ID and password. Maybe even if you are guests, but still you would be able to do it.
There is some pre-created account need for that.
I just
There on
need
the
to
right
check
side,
this.
there is one up arrow on the right side.
Okay. Where does it upload? Acha, it uploads it over here. No, it is saying that we can upload something from our machine here. But that video is still in this account, right? So we need an option to download and not upload actually.
Yeah,
Mm, okay, that is something I'll just check with somebody from Pragati Software because I also not aware of this. But guys, like you guys just try one thing that the link I have shared with Prakash. Okay, now somebody from you just sign up. Okay, and just try to access this video and just let me know whether you are able to do that or not.
okay.
And just let me know because I am not. Maybe you should be able to get it. I suppose.
Hello.
But like, yes.
Yeah, Ruchit here. Actually, you can download it through the option that is given there as My Content near Discover.
Okay.
Inside My Content, you have to go to Meetings, and then there is
Okay.
an option button to clear download the video.
Okay. Let's do that. So if we have it, then that's good.
With the three dots.
The more actions.
Okay, just a second.
Download video. Yes, I have it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just keep these videos downloaded at my end, and then I'll upload it so that you guys can access.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I was not aware of this option actually, guys, because as I said, I am for the first time I am using this Team Center, and the account which has been provided to me is also is of not been provided from. So they have created it for me. So that's why I was not aware of all these things. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just download these videos and I'll share it with you all. Right. Okay. Any more queries, guys,
Yeah, actually, I had
or
asked
any?
about that vehicle class. So, if with these videos, can you like send little sample of that also, so I can map it with the video and also get to know it
Yes.
much better.
Yes. Yes. I'll do that. I have that.
Okay, okay.
Yes, we can do that. Okay. So I'm downloading the videos, and within next few minutes, maybe half an hour or so, I'll send all the required files to Prakash, like the changes which we did in the program today. Also the another version of the same implementation where all the net notes have been kept, and I'll also send you that vehicle implementation as well. Okay, at least the few, I mean some part of that implementation, so that at least you can understand what you are supposed to do in that. Okay, so these few files I'll just send you guys in short while. These videos, I don't know how much time they will take to download and upload again. So, but I'll do it today. I mean, the third one also I need to download, right? Sorry. Once we are done with the session, we will get the third video, and then I'll download that as well, and then I'll upload all these three to the Google Drive. I'll share the link with Prakash, and then Prakash, please, circulate it with people.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, Pranay, just told you earlier that I have a issue in the medical program.
Sorry. Which program you have an issue?
A vehicle program, the assignment we have given yesterday. I tried yesterday.
Vehicle, no. Vehicle.
Yeah.
I would be sending it. Yes, that's what. I would be sending that vehicle one. With,
No, actually,
I mean the.
I have issue. I tried to implement at my side.
Okay.
Yeah.
You would be calling me. Regarding that, right? Okay. No issues. Just ping me on the group or maybe. And also one point I want to mention here. Whenever you want to ask me any query, instead of sending a personal message, please mention it in the group. No, I don't have any problem in getting the queries in the personal message as well, but the reason is whenever I give the resolutions, if you have the query on the group, that everyone will be able to get to know the resolution which I have given to you. That's the only reason. Otherwise I am fine with getting the queries and answering them as a personal message as well. But the group, if you put it on the group, the other people will also be be able to know about it. That's the only reason, nothing else.
Then I will share the screenshot at group.
Yeah, please, so that I can see, and if I can resolve it by just having a look at it, then I'll post the resolution there and there itself. But if at all if that is not sufficient, then we will have a call.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any other thing which I can help you in, guys? I'll just send you these files, this one, this one, and the recordings and the vehicle implementation, as well as those notes. And also I'll share with you all the complete reference book, which I just talked about, the complete reference which I'll share. So yeah, I'll share it within next few minutes, guys, don't worry. I'll share it with you all today only, right? Okay, now let me mention here what we are going to talk about in our tomorrow's session. So if at all you guys during the day, if you get some time, just go and check at least the definitions of those things on the net. Tomorrow we are going to talk about the inheritance, method overriding, method overloading, and final keyword. Final keyword is what we are planning for our tomorrow's session. Okay, again I'm telling, inheritance, method overloading, method overriding, and final keyword. Okay. Okay, guys, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, Pranay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sure, guys. So see you tomorrow, same time. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruno.